How was everyone's spring break on a scale of 1 to 8? 8. Good. That's the answer. That's the answer. Good job. So tonight we have a fantastic show for you. I'm really super duper excited. We're going to have Veneranda up here. She's going to be talking about Culture Fest, which is happening tomorrow night. And then we're going to have a cat specialist on. She's pristine on her cats. And then there's going to be an awesome performance at the end by me and my good friend Ryan on the ukulele. So make sure you stick around. We're going to have trivia as well. So, thank you. So I figured I haven't been up here in like 2 weeks, so I bet I can guarantee you that a lot has happened in my life. Let's see, I got a new car. That's exciting. Yeah. So I was really pumped about that. His name's Cameron. Long story behind that name. I did have an embarrassing story for the spring break, but I do have a story about embarrassing someone that I caused the embarrassment. I was at CVS with my friend Megan, and we were walking down the hall with the aisles or whatever, and you know those big ball bins where like you always ask your mom if you can get one. She's like, no, I don't need that around my house. No, I'm not gonna waste my money on that. Well, that's what my mom says anyway. But so I took one of the balls out, and I was like, oh yeah, the soccer player that I am. I took the ball. I don't have a ball with me, but I went to do, I don't even know what it's called. Like, I went to kick it above my head, and so I kicked it, and I hit an aisle behind me. I was like, oh, whatever, so I kept walking, and I was like, we're going in to get Brett chapstick because he needed chapstick at CVS. So we're walking down the aisle, me and Brett, and all of a sudden I hear, Kate, and I was like, oh, Megan, what? And I turn around, and there is a pool of blood coming out of her nose. I kicked the ball directly into her face and just kept walking. What a friend am I? So I turn around and I'm like, oh my God, Brett, Megan's bleeding. And so I look at Brett and Brett's like, oh, what? And you did. And
I kept walking.
Yeah, he kept walking. I was like, Brett. So we turn around and Megan's gone. All you see is like little droplets of blood on the floor. And we're like, where is Megan? So here I come, Harriet the Spy, and I'm like, where is she? Turns out she like ran down an aisle. I don't know what her thinking was. And she has a pool of blood in her hand and it's all down her arms. And I'm like, oh my God. So meanwhile, I don't know I kicked her in the face with the ball. I'm just thinking it's like allergy season. She has dry nose. And she's just had a nosebleed. And like, I don't know. I don't really know if she has something for nosebleeds or whatever. So she happens to stop in front of the tissues. So I just rip open a box of tissues. I know, it gets pretty intense. I rip open a box of tissues and I'm like just wiping her face and like holding it. And she's like, oh my God, this is so gross. I'm like, oh. And then all of a sudden she goes, the ball, it kicked me in the face. And I was like, so then it got 10 times more funnier, like, because it was hysterical. But, so I apologize, Megan, and I just probably caused her more embarrassment telling her about her bloody nose in CVS. Thank God there's a nice lady. She must have worked with like 2-year-olds because she was like, oh, let me wipe it off. And she got baby wipes. And it was like, this is horrible. And little did she know I caused this. Whatever. But
the worker didn't even help us.
Yeah, Brett went over and was like, my friend just got a nosebleed, and the worker was like, okay. All right, we'll just have blood all over your store and then leave. No DNA. Anyway, so that was my embarrassing story of spring break. But prior to spring break, I did have an embarrassing story, and I'm sure many of you saw it as my Facebook status. I work at the City Hall in downtown Biddeford. And it's a very old building. It's one of those buildings that like you can go in a hallway and then you'll end up in another building somehow and you're like, how did I get here? It's crazy. So I like to wander. I'm on the 3rd floor. I have no windows in my office. It's creepy. The floor creaks every step you take. So like I go and I'm like, oh God, I'm so bored. I'm just gonna walk out real quick and like get some fresh air in the room. I don't know what my thinking was. So I went into the room and the door was like open and I went in and it was like filled with maps and like I love maps and I was like looking at all the maps and stuff and the doors behind me and like so I was like, okay, well I've been in here for like 5 minutes so I'm gonna go back. So I went back and I went to the door, it was locked and I was like, oh my God. So like I opened I like checked again and I looked around and I was like, there's no other doors here, so I have to go out this door. And there's one window in the room. So I'm looking out the window, I have like my face pressed against the window, I'm like, I don't see anything down there. I'm on the 3rd floor, mind you. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm trapped in this room and I probably shouldn't be in here. And it's just I'm gonna get fired and this is just bad. So I'm in the room and I'm like waiting and I'm like calling my boss and he's out at lunch. That's helpful. So I'm like, okay, he's not answering. So I was like, do I call 911 or my mom? So I called my mom. She was not as helpful. She was just like, oh, you're trapped in a room. Oh, it's not the first time. Thanks, Mom. And so finally, I'm like just banging on the door. I start like lightly knocking. I'm like, hello, anyone there? And so I'm like, okay, finally, I'm like, get me out of here right now. I was freaking out. I was gonna say something else. Anyway, I was so freaking out, but eventually my boss came back 25 minutes later, and I was like, I'm never wandering again. I'm staying in my chair, never going to the bathroom. That kind of poses a problem sometimes, but other than that, it was a good time being trapped in a room at City Hall, which is like 100 years old. Oh my god. Anyway, so we have some, hold on, don't. I like to find funny pictures because it's just a hobby of mine. I like to do it. It's one of those things where it's like a priority over, per se, homework. So these are some of the pictures that I found. This is, it's a girl eating the guy from Nickelback's hair because it looks like ramen. I don't know. I love Nickelback. No, I don't. But, okay, continue on to the next one. Have you heard of The Hunger Games? I heard it's a fantastic book. So this is what I think of when I think of The Hunger Games. I haven't read the books yet or seen the movies, but I probably should get on that. I feel like I'm probably the only one who hasn't seen or read either. But that's my vision of The Hunger Games. I don't know what's next. This is kind of scary. Man or monkey? You tell me. I think that was the last one. I think we might go to cats after that, so we will. No?
Yeah.
That's the last one, I think. But, so like I said, we have a great show for you tonight. Well, let's bring up the first guest. The one. Go to iTunes. It's Fred's desktop. It's literally a cheetah on the Mac. Turn around there. Screen up. There we go, V.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be like, my name is Carrie. I'm so very fly. Oh my, it's a little bit scary. Always wanna marry. Looking at my diary.